Good morning and welcome back to Workforce Wednesday in the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center's Bus to Business virtual program series. My name is Harper Smith and I'm the manager of the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center, and I help direct our Bus to Business program. Before I introduce our speakers today, I just want to thank our sponsors, the Kentucky Society for Human Resources Management, Kentucky SHRM, and AT&T, who are both great partners of ours, and we're always excited to welcome their involvement in our programs and thank them for their investment in helping to bring classrooms to careers. I'd also like to thank the entire team at ULIMI for this virtual event platform. And as usual, all of our resources and videos are housed on our website, kychamber.com/bus2business, as well as being recorded and housed on our YouTube and Facebook streams. So whether you're one of the over 100 students we have tuning in live with us on January 20th, or if you're watching it at a later date, thanks so much, and we hope you all learned something new today. So the structure of today's session will be first hearing from our speakers on their different backgrounds and jobs, and then we'll turn it into a panel discussion led by me. And you all will have a chance to put any questions you have for the speakers in the chat, and I will direct those over to them. So without any further ado, I will now hand it over to the team at IQS Research. Today you will be hearing from Sean Herbig, Joel Thomas, and Nick Gunther, and I will take it over. Sean, I'll let you kind of kick it off. Thanks so much.
Well, that's excellent. Good morning. Thank you, Harper, and good morning to everybody on the webinar today. Thanks for being here. Here to talk about research and data analytics, which is a field that I absolutely love. So I'm really excited to be able to share it with you all today, to give you just a little bit of background about sort of who I am, who the company is, and just a little bit about sort of where this comes together. And then I'll turn it over to Joel and Nick to talk a little bit more about their respective jobs. But my name is Sean Herbig, president and founder of IQS Research, founded IQS Research in 1999. So we're in our 22nd year. We are a research and data analytics firm. And what that really means is, in our world, we spend a lot of time gathering the thoughts and opinions that people have. So we do a lot of surveys, we do a lot of focus groups, we do a lot of one-on-one interactions that takes place, whether it be online or telephone or in person. I mean, there's just 1,000 different ways. Sometimes it's interviewing thousands or many thousands of people. Sometimes it's interviewing maybe 40 or 50 people, if they're very small target audiences. But in every case, we're trying to get a deep understanding of what a given population thinks. We've got some really advanced analytics that we can bring to bear on that to really make sure that we're teasing out the real deep message with that and getting some good information. In addition to my work at IQS Research, I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of Louisville, and the classes that I teach there in their Master of Business Analytics program, I teach quantitative primary data, which again, that's quantitative, that's surveys for the most part, and I also teach quantitative secondary data analysis. So that's using existing data sources like the Bureau of Labor Statistics, IPEDS, the Census Bureau, things like that. So that's a little bit about sort of my background, but to tell you a little bit about the company and just to give you an example of some of the things we do. So when we think about that, gathering data through surveys and finding out what people think, you go, well, how does that sort of apply, and why do we really care about what people think? It's always sort of a means to an end, and I'll give you an example. So we did a project a few years ago with a college, right? So this was a school, it was a college, and one of the issues they were trying to fix is the success rate of freshmen, or what they particularly called first-time freshmen, right? Which are people who hadn't taken any college classes at all. And we really want to focus on this group and go, okay, how can we help them be more successful? And we know that they have a certain percentage of them pass and go on and make it to the second semester of their freshman year. Some of them make it to their sophomore year, and of course, some of them don't. So the question is, why not? And in order to understand that, we need to kind of get boots on the ground. We need to know, what are these people going through, and what are they trying to, what are they trying to learn, and what are they experiencing, and what are the obstacles, et cetera. So we set up a process, we set up a research study that gathered information from them at 3 specific touch points in the fall semester, 3 specific touch points in the spring semester. And then we also looked at, if you didn't return in the spring semester, what happened. We also looked at their grades at the end of their freshman year. And we were able to put all of that stuff together in a longitudinal way. And then we were able to stratify at the end of the freshman year, those who were successful and went on to their sophomore year, those who dropped out, those who had high grades, those who had low grades. And we were able to identify specific attitudinal changes attitudinal differences, behavioral differences, ways that they engage with the school system, versus, the successful students engaged one way, the non-successful students engaged another way. So that was the type of work that we did. And at the end of that project, what the school system did is actually they revised their entire freshman onboarding process, right? So that they were able to work with the freshmen and give them some really good tools, because we told them what tools the students needed, when they needed those tools, right? So there was a specific inflection point, and we were able to sort of break all of that down for them, right? And these are smart people at the college, right? They were already working on this, but this research study allowed them to really have this deep insight into what's going on through the minds of the freshmen, so that they could really look at that and just sort of break down their journey over that year on a piece-by-piece basis. And then once you understand that, you can start to look at, where's the system sort of breaking? Where's the system need to be made a little bit better? So those are the types of projects that IQS Research works on. So it's really fascinating. I absolutely love it. It's a great profession, really good for people who are math-minded. Of course, you would expect that, but it's also good for people who have really good writing skills. It's also really good for people who, come from a diversity of backgrounds. This is a very open profession. The people you're going to see today, we all happen to be white males, but if you look at our website, you'll see people of various colors, people of various nationalities, people of various genders. This is a very open and welcoming profession. So no matter who you are, there's a place for you here, and it just uses a lot of different skill sets. So it's a great place to be. It's a great profession. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate for it. So that would be a little bit about who I am and what IQS Research does, and just a little Cliff Notes about what the profession is. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Joel, and he can tell you a little bit about the world of the data collections coordinator and that side of things. Go ahead, Joel.
My name is Joel Thomas. I'm the research study coordinator at IQS Research. I've been here for a little over 4 years, and I actually came to this job through a really kind of winding pathway. So I'm a graduate of the University of Louisville, where I studied political science and cultural anthropology. Upon graduating, I actually got my start in the workforce in the nonprofit sector, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but kind of came to the realization that I was looking to kind of go in a new direction with my career. I had always had an interest and great respect for research. Having double majored in college, I actually had taken several research methods courses, so I was familiar with different methodologies and sampling frames, and just kind of some general kind of guiding practices in the field of research. And also as an undergraduate, I had the opportunity to participate in some research projects. So I had some hands-on experience of various processes and just kind of a working familiarity of what research entails. And so from there, I found IQS Research, and kind of my segue into this job was that I had a working level familiarity with how to collect data. A typical day in my job can involve really a variety of things. I'm involved in basically just about every study that involves collecting data that we do. I have some kind of hand in that, whether it be programming online surveys or working with a project manager to refine a survey instrument. Sometimes I'm recruiting independent contractors who partner with us on various projects. Other times I'm working with translators to translate our survey instruments into various languages. I think at this point, I personally have worked with translators to translate our surveys into about 12 different languages. So there's always something new in that regard. And so, yeah, there's really just a variety of things that my role kind of brings me into. I'm always learning about something, and I'm always being forced to think critically and creatively about a number of different problems. That's probably what I enjoy most about my role, is that it forces me to constantly stay on my toes, which is great. A fun fact about my role, I think one thing that is often said about research, or specifically in regards to surveys, is that there's kind of a concern, whether or not people take surveys, or things like that. And one thing I can definitely say, having been in my role for a number of years, is that people absolutely do take surveys. I have been just truly amazed at, just the variety of studies we've done and our ability to solicit feedback and collect, methodologically sound data from a variety of people. In our firm, we often say that it's really about asking the right questions to the right people at the right time. And that's absolutely 100% true. Even as, the world changes, people still continue to take surveys and share feedback and share their thoughts and opinions about a variety of topics. Our industry is one that really is moving in a bunch of different directions in this regard. So whether it be through online panel participation or, various like video-based focus groups, things like that, the ability to collect data is evolving. And that's a really exciting prospect, especially as businesses and organizations really move to make more data-driven decisions and policies. So it's an exciting time, I think, for research and data analytics, certainly from a data collections perspective. So with that, I think I'll pass it to Nick.
Hey, good morning, friends. My name is Nick Gunther, and I am a research data analyst at IQS Research. And if you haven't picked up on anything else, it's probably that you get in this field because you're not exactly sure what you want to do for a little while. Like Joel, I didn't go directly into this field at all. I actually studied education to begin with. Even before that, when I kind of sat where you all were, I knew I was good at math and science. And so I was told, like a lot of people, that I should be an engineer. And so I pursued that route and realized it really just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I wasn't sure what that was. So I looked into education, and I actually taught for a number of years here in Jefferson County Public Schools in Louisville. I'm not actually sure if you guys are from Louisville, but after as I did that, I went back to school and I got my master's in applied statistics because I knew that I really loved math. And I kind of fell in love with statistics because I realized that numbers and data had the power to change the way that we live life. And so I really felt like I wanted to solve problems. And I think people say, if that's kind of where your mind is, your math and science, and you like answering questions, that go into engineering. But I didn't necessarily want to create new inventions or build something new. I wanted to solve the deep thinking problems, some social issues, or try and improve workplace experience for employees. And so now I get to sit around and say, hey, can we answer the question of why people of different genders, different races make different amounts of money? Or how can I help everyday employees to enjoy their workplace experience more by looking at numbers? So my job requires it's kind of an intersection of technology. So I do a lot of programming with interpretation. So I do a lot of report writing. So it's really difficult to excel and be the best data analyst if you don't have a blend of skills. I have to be able to think critically about numbers and know math for sure, but then I also have to be able to relay what I learn and the information that I'm gaining to people who might not care about math at all. And so it's important that you can speak eloquently, that you can infer really deep insights. And then you have to just be really motivated by a good problem. What you have to do is not always going to be apparent. So the skill to be able to look in and see, okay, there's some deeper issues and I want to help solve those. And so I've really loved what I've been doing for the past couple of years. And I would definitely challenge some of you to look into this field. If math, if science, if you're not really sure, but you know you've got to drive to answer some questions, big questions in the world, there's opportunities here. Fun things about what I do, or I guess just data in general. So in 2017, it was reported that, which that's outdated now because we're getting old, but that Facebook was responsible for 1 billion pieces of information being transferred per day. So we're talking about one social media network, which is a big one, but it's definitely not the only one anymore. And so the data about you, about your friends, about your family is being passed everywhere. And it's worth more money than any other commodity that exists. And I was actually shocked to learn that data is worth more than diamonds, more than gold. It is the single most valuable traded commodity that exists today. So businesses really value individuals who can understand it and who can leverage that for whatever cause they need. So it's definitely a sector, if you get into, you have the opportunity to earn a lot of money if you're good at it, and to help your business learn a lot of money alongside of just being able to add a lot of value to the world. So I think that wraps up our just short presentations, but we'd love to hear some questions. I think that's the direction we're headed.
Yes, thank you all so much. I just have a couple of questions that I will pose to you all. And students, like I said before, please put any questions you have for any of the speakers in the chat, and I will be sure to direct those over. So now that you're all kind of on the screen, I guess we can kind of go one by one. But first question I have is a college degree required to work at IQS or a company like IQS, or what are the entry level or baseline credentials that someone would need to work at a company like IQS?
Yeah, so the general answer is yes. There are exceptions to everything in life, as you can imagine, but by and large, if you're talking about one of the certainly a job like Joel's or a job like Nick's, or the majority of the jobs in the company, minus sort of being out in the field conducting interviews, those are kind of hit and miss. It's not required, but a lot of those people do have degrees as well. But by and large, though, if you're in you're working on projects, there are exceptions, but very few of them.
Gotcha.
The one piece that I would add is you can get a huge jump start on that even where you are now, especially for a role like mine, by learning programming. Programming skills are a huge part of what we do, and there's so many languages that add value to our workplace. And so even just knowing some of those baseline skills will catch people's eyes really quickly.
Gotcha. My next question is, I kind of just like to ask this to people, just kind of interesting. Like, what was your all's first jobs ever? Could be completely unrelated to research or data, but I always think it's just kind of interesting to see where people started. I worked at a movie theater, so that was my first job.
Joel, Nick, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I know your all's first job.
So I actually worked in movie theater in college, but that was not my first job. My first job was at a restaurant, the world's greatest restaurant that's ever been created that most of you might not even know about, Skyline Chili. It's a Cincinnati-based food that you either love or you absolutely hate with everything that's in you. So I made cheese coneys.
Nice.
My first job, so I was a lifeguard at a water park in the summer.
Nice.
I don't know how far back you want to go when you say first jobs. I've been working since I was young. I mean, so we're talking like cutting lawns, delivering papers. I mean, I did all of that. But I mean, if you want to talk my first regular normal job, I was a busboy at an Italian restaurant in high school. So that'd probably be my first official job.
Very nice. We actually just got a question from a student. So this question is from Alea. I think I'm saying that right. But she said, what motivated you guys to do this job? Or your jobs?
I'll jump in on that. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the question. I think Nick touched on a lot of those pieces that I sort of resonated with me in his piece, which is there's a natural curiosity that I think people in this profession have. You either just have this genuine desire just to understand the world better, or this genuine desire to use that understanding to help solve problems. And I find that is sort of a unifying thread that drives a whole lot of people. I mean, some people are better at math, some people are not. Some people are better at coding, some people are not. Some people want to be on the data collection side, some people want to be on the analytics side, some people want to be on the reporting side. But everybody, it seems, wants to use their knowledge, their particular gifts, for the purpose of a deeper understanding, to solve a problem, just to basically make the world a better place. There is quite a bit of altruism that does run through this profession, just people just wanting to make the world a better place. And I know for me personally, I know that deeply resonates with me. So that'd be my response in terms of why.
Yeah, I mean, Aside from that, and more maybe just in a lighthearted sense, Alea, I love to argue. And so when I have the data to back me up, I feel like people can't say that I'm wrong. So that's another reason that I really like what I do.
Yeah, I think the big motivation for me was definitely, it's like a combination of just curiosity, inquisitiveness, and just a love for learning. That's definitely something that this field, I mean, really is just guided by, people who are curious about the world and inquisitive about the various ways we can learn and come to understand how things operate or could be improved, or really just kind of all manner of things in between. So yeah, just a genuine sense of curiosity, inquisitiveness, and yeah, just a love for learning.
Great. I just have one more question. I'm not seeing any more from any students, but this wasn't on the sheet I gave you all, so I'm kind of put on the spot. But what is some advice that you would give to students looking to pursue a career in research or something like that?
So I think from my standpoint, when I see a lot of people who want to get into research, they very often think analytics, right? So they think I want to be a data analyst, next job, and that's great. And certainly there's a lot of difference you can make there. One of the things I like about this morning's program is that we've got a chance for Joel to talk, because his role and the work that his team does is so incredibly important, because the reality is if you don't have good solid data, it doesn't matter how good Nick's math is, because you're sort of building the house on shifting sands. You don't have a good foundation, and the data become the foundation for all the analytics that you do on top of that. So so sort of recognizing that both of those things are important. The other piece that I would maybe say to somebody who's thinking about entering this profession is, if you're thinking about what to concentrate on, within your classes or your additional study work, I would say there are three main things that you want to think about. One, certainly if you're going to be an analyst, you have to have the statistical chops. So algebra, calculus, trigonometry, all of those things are good. Try and get a stats class in there, right? Understand your measures of central tendency, understand understand what correlation is, maybe some basics on regression, understand how to test for significance and things like that. Those are some very basic sort of foundational elements on the stats side that you just need to know. You're just going to have that. But it doesn't stop there, right? The next thing that you need to know, and Nick talked on, he's dead on, you have to have the ability to write. Okay, I see a lot of analysts who come into this profession and they think that they can just coast by on their math skills, and very few of them can. There are very few organizations in the world where you can just sit back and do the math. You have to be able to interpret those results, and you have to be able to write about those results. That is the vehicle that we tend to use, is the written word, whether that be PowerPoint or written report or whatever. So knowing that is hugely important. And then the piece that's in the middle there, and again, it's been mentioned today, but I'll drive it home again. The coding side, you heard Joel talk about, he does a lot of programming in his world. You heard Nick talk about, he does a lot of programming in his world. We, on the analytics side, we use a software called R, the letter R, and that's huge. And it's very big in this profession right now. So that's one in the world of analytics. If you know that, or if you're gonna put any of these languages above the other, I would put R at the top of the list. But R is good, Python is good. There's a lot of good ones out there, but start to learn that. So those three skills, I think, are the three big ones that you really want to focus on. You want to focus on the stats, you want to focus on the coding, and you want to focus on the writing. If you can elevate those, you're absolutely going to be called on. Pretty much any place you are in this profession, you'll need those.
Awesome.
I would say outside of just, the formal trained skills, one of the keys is asking good questions and having a brain that thinks curiously. And I think the way that you develop that is by exposing yourself to what's going on in the world. So get involved with a lot of different groups, different activities, watch social media or the news, and just try and understand the issues that are present in the world around you. And it's going to help you to be naturally more curious about it. It's going to give you a baseline understanding that when you see data, you can kind of understand it better from the front end. There's obviously lots of schooled skills that you need, but just being able to know the world that you live in is incredibly important.
Yeah, probably my best advice for those maybe interested in research, the first one would be to get involved in research. take advantage of every opportunity you have to participate in research projects. Specifically if you pursue an undergraduate degree, there likely will be opportunities at whatever college or university you attend to participate in research, and I would highly encourage you to pursue those. The more experience and familiarity you have with it really just enhances your ability, I think, to be effective in this industry. So learning like how to phrase questions and kind of learning kind of epistemologically, like what can be asked and what we can learn. Just having the ability to think that way is super important. And I'm really just speaking, I guess, from personal experience here. But the best way to do that really is to just dive into it. See what it's about, see what's going on. Researchers tend to be a pretty opinionated bunch. And so you're likely to pick up, some really interesting methods or perspectives or preferences on the research process. And so all of those things I think are helpful, just kind of the experience aspect of it. Beyond that, I would definitely agree with Sean that writing abilities are good. Me personally, I'm not an analyst. However, I'm constantly drafting various socialization materials, or just communicating with diverse groups of people, and having the ability to communicate concisely and effectively is super important in my role. And then the third thing that's already been mentioned is, to develop a working knowledge of coding. There's a ton of resources available, most of which that are free, that you can pursue to kind of develop and build coding skills. Again, I'm not an analyst, but I do have kind of a rudimentary basic knowledge of a couple different coding languages. I'm basically I know what I need to know to be able to do what I need to do, is probably the best way I'd phrase it. But yeah, definitely learning more about R, Python, those are two really obvious ones, that are especially popular kind of in our industry.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I know I learned a lot today, so I'm sure all the students who tuned in also did. So thanks again to Sean, Nick, and Joel. Thank you all very much. And I'll just kind of wrap up with some housekeeping things, but thank you all for joining us today. I think this was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So just a couple housekeeping things. So thank you all again for tuning in today. All of the resources and these videos are housed on our website, as well as our Facebook and YouTube streams if you'd like to share them or rewatch them later on. If you aren't signed up to receive our e-newsletter already, please sign up. You can sign up at kychamber.com/bustobusiness. And that e-newsletter outlines that week's videos, live sessions, Workforce Wednesday information, and critical job information, as well as any live sessions that are coming up. So please sign up to get that. And then also we have our next live session next week, Wednesday, January 27th at 10 a.m. with People Plus, which is an employment agency. So that'll be a good session to tune into to learn about what it takes to get hired at certain jobs, that kind of thing, the whole process. And then if you have any further questions on the program or anything else, please feel free to directly reach out to me. My email is hsmith@kychamber.com. And thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks.